What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. We got another great show for you guys. We got the NBA preview today. First, we're going to touch on a couple of small things. First, for the MLB, the New York Yankees defeated the Cleveland Guardians last night. They win the game 5-1. They advance to the ALCS. They will play the Houston Astros tonight. Game 1 is in Houston. Houston's going with the guy, in my opinion, should be the signing on the American League, Justin Verlander. Yankees going with Jameson Taillon. Of course, Garrett Cole pitched in Game 4. Cortez went in Game 5, and then I guess they wanted to go to a fresh arm in Taillon. And Severino went Game 3. So that's a pitching matchup. Game 1, Phillies and Padres was last night. Phillies took Game 1 2-0. They got Kyle Schwarber hit a monster home run, hit it 488 feet. Exit was 120 miles per hour. Bryce Harper had an incredible reaction. Was pretty much everyone's reaction. That was a monstrous home run. Zach Wheeler, 7 scores inning, pitched an absolute gem. So Phillies take Game 1, 1-0. That's a big win for the Phillies, who just keep on defying the odds. The last playoff team in National League, the 6 out of 6 seeds of the National League, 87 wins, of course. Had a crazy midseason turnaround, or after a slow start. They fired their manager, Joe Girardi, who was a World Series winning manager. He won the World Series, of course, with the Yankees back in 2009. One of the more, well-respected managers in the game. He was fired back in, I think it was late May or early June. And interim manager, Rob Thompson, of course, now is a full-time manager. They gave him a 2-year extension during the playoff, but about a week or two ago. They're hot. They're hot right now. We've seen the last couple of years, it really has been the best team. It's been the team that's been hot. In 2019, it was the Washington Nationals, who, got off to a really slow start. They were one of the worst teams in baseball, and, heading into June. And then from June on, they had a top 5 record in the league. I think they were the best team in the National League. From, the first week of June on, and ended up winning the World Series. In the division series, they beat the Dodgers, who they really had no business beating. And then they swept the Cardinals, and then they beat the Astros, who they really had no business beating either in the World Series. Last year, the Braves, heading into the trade deadline, so heading into August, they were a below-average team. In fact, if the Mets were struggling as bad as they were, they had a larger division lead, the Braves probably would have been in it. They may have looked to sell the deadline, and they completely recreated their team at the deadline. They got hot. Ended up stealing the National League East, part of what the Mets collapsed, but still, they had a top 5 record in the league last 2 months of the season. And they ended up just running through everybody. In the National League, they beat everybody. They beat the Dodgers, who they had no business beating. And even Houston, which Houston on paper probably should have won that series. But Atlanta said, not on our watch. And now, Phillies, heading into June, were really struggling. They fired their manager for crying out loud. And all of a sudden, they're one of the best teams in the league. They think they were 21 games over 500 once they brought in Rob Thompson, I think late May or early June. And they beat 2 teams they had no business beating. The St. Louis Cardinals, who aren't really scaring anybody. They're more of a feel-good story. Though they deserve to win that National League Central because of Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina, and Adam Lehman all retiring. But still, St. Louis should have won that series, and they didn't. And Atlanta, they had no business even really being in the same league as Atlanta. And they won that series too. Now, I think San Diego should beat them. San Diego has a better team on paper by a pretty good shot, and now they're up 1-0. So they're going to head to Philadelphia for at least a 1-1 tie. So kudos. So I don't like the Phillies. I'm excellent, but kudos to the Phillies and Rob Thompson. Rob Thompson has done a great job turning that team around. NBA kicked off last night. The Boston Celtics beat the 76ers in Game 1. So Joe Mazzulla, in his head coaching debut, picks up a win. Kudos to him. Sixers, they looked a little off, I'm not going to lie. Joel Embiid didn't look great. That being said, James Harden did look very good. He had a 30-point game. He did look very good. He physically looks like he did in Houston. He's lost a lot of weight. He was definitely out of shape the last couple of years. He looks like, he looks like he's finally, not being, his ego is kind of not getting in the way. Him taking a pay cut to return to the Sixers, now taking him time to get himself in shape. I mean, Charles Walker was talking about, like, pretty much everyone is in shape when the season starts, and then, as the season goes on, things happen, of course. That being said, Harden was not in shape these last couple of years. And now he looks like he did in Houston. At least from an appearance standpoint. Playing-wise, last night looked pretty close to what he did in Houston. We'll see if he can keep that up the rest of the season. If so, I thought we could be a dangerous team. We'll see where that goes. But they didn't think they'd look right last night, the Sixers. Of course, they're still dealing with the Ime Udoka thing, trying to put that in the rearview mirror. And the Warriors, they ran over the Lakers. Was not that close to the game. They pulled away in the second half. It was before the game. They had the ring ceremony. All the players got their rings. They raised the championship banner, which will now be, of course, in the Raptors until the end of time. And they went out and beat the Lakers. And these Lakers, they look probably just as bad as they did last year. I didn't think LeBron played that great. AD was nothing special. Definitely didn't look like a guy who's supposed to be a top 5 player in the league when healthy. Russ, I mean, he had a couple of nice plays, but nothing special. Pat Bev, nothing special. You look at their depth guys, they clearly still don't have enough depth. Once you get past LeBron and a healthy AD, obviously Russell Westbrook is just not working out there. Pat Bev is not helping you offensively. You look at you guys, it's, Lonnie Walker, it's Juan Toscano Anderson, Kendrick Nunn. None of those guys showed me anything that wowed me. I don't think there's a lot of hope for the Lakers. Now on to the highlight of my show today, my NBA preview. I'm going to predict the standings in each conference. I'll talk about each team, their offseason, why I have them ranked where I have them ranked. And then, of course, I'll talk about the teams that are not in the playoffs or the play-ins, and then I'll pick my NBA champion and my NBA award picks as well. Let's start off with the Eastern Conference. I have the Milwaukee Bucks winning the East this year. I think you look at their team. Giannis is a beast. Giannis is probably the best player in the NBA. I think he's the best player in the world. All the other guys, LeBron is still obviously an all-time great. I've been on the record saying he's overrated and he should not be in the GOAT conversation, but he's still, at least I would say a top 10 player of all time. As one of the all-time great, and still one of the best players in the NBA, but I do not think he is the best player in the NBA anymore. Durant, when healthy, you could argue he is, but he's just never healthy. I mean, Stephen Curry, last year, first, month or two last year, he looked like he might win MVP, but after that, was honestly a little inconsistent. And then he kind of picked it back up in the postseason. Nikola Jokic, what he's done these last years has been incredible, but Giannis has been a little more dominant for a little bit of a longer stretch. Joel Embiid is up there. That being said, you gotta remember Giannis has a ring, Embiid does not. He's never even been out of a second round. And Giannis has 2 MVPs, Embiid has 0. You just look at the numbers. I think Giannis is a slightly better than Luka Doncic, who's also up there. He may as well be the best player in the world, possibly, maybe even by next year. If not in the next 2 or 3 years, he could be at least top 3 player in the league. Luka Doncic, I believe he will be, but not quite yet. So I think Giannis is the best player in the world. Chris Middleton is out to start the year. We saw the impact he had when he was not there in the Eastern Conference semifinals. They lose to Boston. I think if Middleton was there, I think they beat Boston in the second round. And I think it would have been an interesting series against Miami. But I think they would have beaten Miami, especially since they were dealing with a bunch of injuries. They barely even need Jimmy Butler to score 47 points in Game 6 just to get to Game 7. And if they played the Golden State Warriors, they'd have had, I think, a better shot than the Boston Celtics at the very least to beat them. Although the Warriors, of course, were a great team and had a lot of experience. I think they would have gotten to the finals if they had Chris Middleton in the postseason last year. Drew is a great point guard, great floor general. He's a really good scorer, can shoot the basketball, great defender, really good player. You'll have Brook Lopez healthy. He's still a great defender. You got some good depth. You're back with Pat Connaughton, George Hill. You got, in the front court, Bobby Portis is a really good player. He's a guy who's a really good defender, can score the basketball a bit. Serge Ibaka, he's older. He's not the shot blocking ace he once was, but he's still a great defender, and he can still score the basketball. I just think they're the most polished team in the East. I got them coming out of the East and finishing first. In second place in the Eastern Conference, I got the Miami Heat. They were in the finals in the bubble, and they took a series. They probably should have gotten swept. They got to Game 6, and then last year, of course, they go to the East. They lose in the Eastern Conference Finals in 7 to the Boston Celtics. I think if they had Tyler Hero healthy, they would have won that series and went to the finals. The team, Jimmy Butler is an absolute stud. He's at least a top 15 player in the NBA, if not top 10 player in the NBA. He's not a great three-point shooter, but he is such an assassin inside the three-point line. He is one of the best pure scorers, maybe not shooters. I do believe there's a shooter and a scorer, like Stephen Curry is the greatest shooter of all time. When it comes to greatest scorers of all time, he's not really, on the list. He's more of a shooter than a scorer, if that makes sense. You look at the greatest scorer, you think of, MJ, Kareem, LeBron, all those guys, Kobe. Jimmy Butler's probably one of the best pure scorers in the league. He is an amazing defender. He is super clutch. Over the last 2 postseasons, he's had some absolutely outstanding games. Like I say, he took a team that probably had no business even being in the finals to Game 6 against, LeBron and a prime, healthy Anthony Davis. Plus, they had a pretty good bench that year, so the Los Angeles Lakers. And then last year, he took a team that was nicked up, to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And if he makes that shot, they're probably in the finals. Jimmy was one shot away from dragging a beat-up team to the finals. He's a great player. You got Tyler Hero. They just give a big extension. 6-man of the year last year. He's one of the best young guards in the league. Bam Adebayo is an underrated player. Really good young big man. Great scorer. Not a great three-point shooter, but he can make one once in a while. Incredible defender. Can defend all 5 positions very well. He is a great player. Kyle Lowry, older. Can't score like he used to, but still a really good defender. And they did lose a couple of guys on the bench. PJ Tucker is a decent loss, for sure. He was a great 3-and-D guy for the Heat last year. But they still have some nice bench pieces. You still have Gabe Vincent, who's a solid guard on your bench. You still have Max Strus, who's a really good versatile guy to have on your bench. Down low, you got Dwayne Dedmon still. He's a pretty good rim protector. Omar Yurtseven's a guy who averaged a double-double when Bam was out. He's a kid who I do like. I think he's a good bench piece to have. And this kid, Nikola Jovic, that everyone jokes he's like store brand Jokic because his name is very, very similar. But he looked really good in the summer league and in the preseason. This kid can play. I'm not sure if he's from Serbia, like Jokic from Denver Nuggets is. But this kid can play. He deserves a spot in the rotation. He's pretty dang good. And got Duncan Robinson, who's a good spot-up shooter. This is still a really good basketball team. Eric Spoelstra might be the best coach in the league. He's got 3-4 rings for a reason. I believe he's got 3 rings, and he lost. He also lost twice with LeBron. He lost 2 years ago, so he's got 3 rings. He's been to the finals 6 times. He's a great coach. We'll be in the Hall of Fame one day. Don't forget about Victor Oladipo. A few years ago, he's one of the premier players in the league. He's had so many injuries. Can he give you something? I think if he's healthy, at the very least, can give you 10 points a game off the bench in 25 minutes. He didn't look great. I mean, like the last game of the season last year, where the Heat rested pretty much all our stars because they already had their seed locked up, and he got a lot of playing time. He played great. Game didn't matter. It's not so. The doesn't hold a lot of weight with a meaningless game, but still, he showed. I thought he showed. Hey, next year when I'm healthy, I get some consistent playing time on the bench. I can play. I think if he shows up, they're going to be really tough to beat. So I got Miami at the 2 spot. At the 3 spot, I have the Boston Celtics. They do, of course, they had a bit of a tumultuous offseason. Not only the Ime Udoka thing, only about a month ago, he gets suspended for the year by his own team for inappropriate conduct, in the workplace, we'll call it. Jaylen Brown was upset on social media throughout the offseason for being included in possible trade offers for Kevin Durant when we thought Kevin Durant was going to get traded. Also, Robert Williams is out to start the year. That's certainly a loss, but still, Joe Mazzulla I think, is a very good coach. I think he's been a top head coach candidate for a year or two now. I think in the next at least 2 or 3 years was going to be a head coach anyway, somewhere. Whether it was Boston, whether it was somewhere else. He was an assistant last year. He knows all the players. All the players know him. Does he have a different coach than Ime Udoka? He may not. But it would have been a lot harder. Like if Boston were to suspend Ime Udoka and then went out and brought in some guy. It didn't matter who they brought in. Even if they brought in like a Hall of Fame caliber coach, a guy who's a championship level coach at in the NBA, and then they hired him. He was unemployed, or let's say they hired Jeff Van Gundy. I would have had him a lot lower in these rankings. Ola Van Gundy is a great coach, and I'm surprised he doesn't have a head coach job. He has not coached in the NBA in a very long time. He does not know how the Celtics do things. It's a completely different coaching style. That would have been a tough transition for a team that is really, really good and is coming off a finals berth. I think it's an easier transition to Joe Mazzulla. I think part of the reason they're going to fire Ime Udoka is not only to have a guy back in your locker room after what he did. I think Joe Mazzulla is going to get the job done and prove that he's a great coach in this league. He's only 30 or 32 years old. He's younger than Al Horford. He might be the youngest coach in the NBA. Probably is. The coach in Thunder, Danielle, whatever his name is also very young. So he's one of the youngest coaches, not the youngest coach in the NBA. So I think they'll warm up to him. I thought they might get off to a slow start because, Robert Williams is out. They got the last second coaching change. But against the 76ers, who are a great team, one of the best teams in the NBA, they went out and beat them. And they were clearly the better team pretty much the whole game. That's one game. We'll see what happens in another 10, 12, 15 games. But that's a real good stuff for the Boston Celtics. Of course, they got Tatum and Brown. Looking back, seeing people talk about possibly breaking them up a couple of years ago, I still don't know why people want to do that. Tatum is a freaking beast. He is a great player. He might be the best two-way player in the NBA. They got some really good depth. You bring in Malcolm Brogdon. That's a really good pickup. He's a real solid floor general who can defend and he can score the basketball. Doug Webb was a great pickup at the trade deadline last year. Another guy who can shoot the ball and also defend very well. Grant Williams is a great player, really good 3-and-D guy. So have a lot of those guys. You got Al Horford, who they brought back last year, and he was a really good rotational piece. He can shoot the basketball very well for a big guy. They got some really good depth to Boston Celtics, which is very important in the NBA. So I got them finishing third. Fourth, I got the Philadelphia 76ers. Look, Joel Embiid is arguably a top 5 player in the game, but dude's a beast. He's 7 feet tall. He can shoot the three, score from anywhere on the floor. He's unstoppable when he takes to the hole. Great defender. And now, of course, you got Harden. What version will we get? Will we get the guy in Houston who was one of the greatest scorers the league's ever seen? We got the guy, we had in Brooklyn and we had in Philly. Not as quite still a good scorer, but not an elite scorer. Obviously come playoff time, he has had to struggle. That's another story though. They have some other playmakers on their team as well. Tyrese Maxey, a really good young point guard who played great once they got Harden. Last year, you got like Matisse Thybulle, who was an excellent defender. Tobias Harris, still a decent scorer. Their depth isn't fantastic, like Miami and like Boston's is. You got a couple of guys in the backcourt, I think that bringing in PJ Tucker is a good move. He's a really good 3-and-D guy. You bring in D'Anthony Melton, I think it's an underrated move. He's a really good defender, especially for a guard. He can score a little bit. Shake Milton, fucking Korkmaz can shoot a bit. But outside of that, their front court depth isn't fantastic. We actually have a call-in. My man Smooth, we call him Smooth Milk. He is going to call in. As we are on Talkin Sports with Jake talking about some basketball, I am previewing the NBA. Yeah, the Sixers have a lot of playmakers. We'll see what happens. Smooth, how we doing?
Great, man. How are you? Always a pleasure to call into the Talking with Sports with Jake show on a Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
I am super pumped. I wanted to shoot a little bit on the National Basketball Association.
Please do.
Last night and won 70 Philadelphia 76ers. For all you Philadelphia fans out there, you got a little taste of what the Sixers are going to look like this year. And it's not that good.
Yeah, they did not. I was talking about it. They did not look good last night.
And I know it's game one, and people are like, oh, it's only the first game of the year. But they really didn't address anything that happened to them last year.
Yeah.
They're still riding the James Harden Kardashian train. They're thinking he's going to, snap out of it and do something great, which, in all honesty, he won't. And Joel Embiid's a great player, but I really think he's just, they don't really have any, and you talk to Philadelphia fans, they're like, yeah, we got Maxey, we got this guy and this guy. But those guys really haven't done anything for you. I mean, they're like Tobias Harris is not, he's good. But he's not going to be a guy to carry on your shoulders. You got one guy on that team that can carry you. And don't get me wrong, they're a playoff team. I mean, they're going to be a 3, 4, 5 in the Eastern Conference. They're not better than, I don't think they're not going to be better than Milwaukee.
Correct.
Boston's still really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think Atlanta's going to have a better year than they did last year. I think the Nets are going to be. I think the Nets are going to be pretty solid, and I think here's why. And I think people, you got Kyrie, who knows what he's all about. Kevin Durant's still Kevin Durant. But I think the wild card on the Brooklyn Nets, and I hate to say it because I'm not a big fan of his, it's Ben Simmons.
Yeah, absolutely
I really do. Because I think he's just in a different environment now where it's not like Philly fans are they're the worst. They are literally if you have one bad game, they will literally destroy you. They do not care. And I think he just fell. The mental part of him playing in a big city like Philadelphia, where there's a lot of expectations for him, with him and Embiid, and they, stuff like that. There was a lot of expectations for this guy. And I think he just crumbled under pressure. And I think now he has a new start and a new outlook and a new, he doesn't really need to be one of the guys in Brooklyn. I mean, you already got really two guys that really fit the bill, Irving and Kevin Durant fit the bill. But at the same token, he's gonna have to come up with some stuff. I mean, he's gonna have to shoot the ball. He's gonna have to penetrate. He's gonna actually have to dunk when he has to dunk, and actually lay up when it's a layup. And he's gonna have to do some things. But I don't think he's gonna be required to do a lot of things. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, he's not there to shoot the ball at all. He's not there to score. He's there to play defense. He's there to pass the basketball. He's there to rebound. But I think in Brooklyn, like you said, I agree with you. They are the wild card because, on paper, they should come out of the East. That being said, we know that's not going to happen just because there's so many questions. I'm not sold on Brooklyn just because I don't know if Kyrie and Durant will even play half the season. with injuries and with Kyrie's contract coming up, will he get pissed off for no reason and want to get traded? Will Durant's trade request thoughts come back? Can Ben Simmons give them really anything? Clearly they're not. I'm not sure how confident they are in Steve Nash as a coach. Could that come back to bite them? Could that be a bit of a locker room problem? So there's just so many other issues, and a lot of them do not even have to do with basketball. I mean, outside of Durant and Kyrie have injury concerns. A lot of these concerns I just listed are not even stuff that's happening on the basketball court. So I'm a little concerned about that, which I have that's a little bit lower in my rankings than some other people. But on paper, honestly they should come out of the East on paper. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Nets do this year.
I don't necessarily have them coming out of the East. I still put my money on Milwaukee
for sure.
I would say Milwaukee's probably the best team in the Eastern Conference right now.
Definitely.
I would say and then you got who do you have after that? I mean, you have Milwaukee, you have Boston, you have Miami still.
Definitely.
I think Miami's still a pretty good team. I think one team that people are starting to sleep on a little bit, but I think they're going to be better this year is Atlanta. I really think the Falcons.
I think so too.
The Falcons. The Hawks, I think are going to be. I was going to say Falcons here, right? The Hawks, I think, are going to be better. I think Toronto's going to be a little better. I think the Knicks are going to be better too. I hope so. And then one team that people are really sleeping on, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Remember they traded Donovan Mitchell.
They're a good basketball team.
A lot for that dude, but they're going to be good. I mean, I really right now, and Chicago's another one. So, but I think it's Milwaukee and then everybody else. 1 to 8. The Wizards, I think, are going to be better. Charlotte's going to be better. I actually think the Pistons are going to be better, but not that much better. I was listening to the radio here in Detroit, and over-under right now is 29.5 for the Pistons. Would you take the over or the under?
I would take the over. Cade's only going to get better. They bring in him and Ivy in the backcourt. I think is a good pairing. I got young guys, Sadiq Bey. You draft the kid, Jim Duran. So I think they get over that.
Well, that and the fact that they have some veterans on the Pistons, which people don't really like. Sadiq Bey's still there, right? But they got Marvin Bagley III in the trade last year from Sacramento.
He looked a lot better.
Bojan Bojanovic, another guy. Alec Burks, not saying he's going to be a world beater. Nerlens Noel is on the Pistons, along with Rodney Magruder. And Isaiah Stewart. I mean, right now I would say it's pretty close to win 30. Like they said last year, it was 43 wins to get into play-in tournament. So if you had 43 wins, you were like the 10, playing in the play-in tournament. So is it possible for the Pistons to win 43? No, but at the same token, I need to be realistic. I think they're winning 30.
Yeah, maybe. I think they'll get 30. They're definitely better. Do they probably don't even get to 40? But I can see 35. Honestly, I can see 35 wins.
Yeah, and I think the Pistons will be more competitive. I don't think obviously they're not going to be they're not going to be really good. But I would say right now, if you were to tell me if you give me the top 8 teams in the Eastern Conference, and not any particular order, I'd go Boston, Brooklyn, Chicago, Cleveland, Atlanta, Miami, Milwaukee, the Knicks, Philadelphia too. So let's go there again. We'll go Boston, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, Chicago, Cleveland, Milwaukee, Atlanta, Miami. There's your 8. Yeah. Right? And then maybe the Knicks, maybe Washington.
We'll say
and that's and that's it. I mean, those 8, not any particular order. Those are your 8 best teams in the Eastern Conference right now. And then the West is kind of like the Lakers. Oh God,
they look just as bad as they did last year. They ain't going anywhere.
And Darvin Ham is. I don't even know why they went with Darvin Ham as head coach. He's not a head coach type material. Period.
I think
I know it's only one game.
I think he's got a bright. I think he can be a head coach somewhere, but the Lakers need an experienced head coach who can handle LeBron and AD and all these guys, and Darvin Ham's not that.
Right, no. He's just he's a guy that LeBron said, I want that guy to be my coach. And they're like, okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they know that they can push him around and kind of like, say, okay, you know what, dude, we don't really like what you're doing here. We're gonna do this instead. Oh, okay. It's like kind of one of those moments, right? So I'm right now. I like Denver. I think the Timberwolves are going to be much improved from last year. They played really well down the stretch and played really well in some series. I like the Timberwolves. Golden State, obviously. The Clippers with a healthy Paul George and a healthy Kawhi Leonard. What are you getting with those guys? Phoenix is another good team. New Orleans with a healthy Zion Williamson. And that team's got some players, man. If you look at the New Orleans Pelicans, and I think people are sleeping on these guys right now because they're all afraid that Joel Embiid's going to get hurt. But not Joel Embiid, I'm sorry. If Zion gets hurt again.
Yeah.
Right? But I mean, you look at their roster right now. They got Devontae Graham, they got C.J. McCollum, Larry Nance Jr., Garrett Temple, Jonas Valanciunas, and Zion Williamson, and C.J. McCollum. I mean, you've got 4 or 5 or 6 really darn good players on that team at any time can score, right? And I think really the Pelicans are going to be one of those teams. Like, I'm not saying bottom, let's say 6 to 8, right? Let's go bottom 6 to 8, like 6 to 8 overall in the Western Conference. They're right there, but they're going to make steps to get better.
Yeah.
So you got them. The Grizzlies again, I think are going to be just as good, if not better, than they were last year with Jay Moran. The Mavericks with their impervious run to the Western Conference Final. They only have room to improve. They're not going to get any. I don't think they're going to get worse. They're going to get better.
Definitely.
So you got Memphis, Dallas, New Orleans, Phoenix, Clippers, Golden State, Denver, Minnesota. I mean, those are your eight teams. Yeah. I think in the West, not in any particular order, that could round out the field. I mean, you could see a team like San Antonio be a 9 or a 10 in a play-in. I really think, and you're going to probably laugh when I say this, you're going to be like, really? I think the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to be much more improved than they were last year.
You think so?
Much more improved. Absolutely. They're building it the right way. They got a lot of young guys on that team. So I think the Thunder win 30 games at least. 30. We'll go 30. 30 and 52 or something. But they're going to be much more improved. I like the makeup of that team. I like how they're all like the oldest guy on that team right now is 27 years old, and that's Kenrich Williams. But the rest of them all the rest of them are under the age of 25.
That's crazy.
But they're doing it the right way.
They absolutely are. They are definitely building something there.
Oh, no, my bad. Actually, the oldest guy on the team's Mike Muscula. He's 31.
Okay.
But the rest of them are 27 or under. But it's still, I mean, you got Dort, you got Trey Mann, you got Aaron Wiggins, Jalen Williams on the team. And I think they're going to be a better team. I'm not saying they're going to be like world beaters by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's funny that, if you're an NBA fan, right, you're so excited about the new season, right? You're so excited. You're like your team. How would you like to be a Houston Rockets fan right now? Seriously. or Orlando Magic fan or Piston fan. Not necessarily Piston, but teams that are like Sacramento's another one. Or Indiana.
Oh,
right?
God.
You got 4 or 5 garbage teams. Like, full well, dude, they're not winning. Like, why would you even go? Like, you're going to go see, obviously, like, see them play the Lakers or a really good team. Like, take your family out to go see the Brooklyn Nets in town or something, something like that. But to be an overall fan of that team, it would just blow my mind.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, and then here in Detroit, it's brutal because you know the story, dude. Lions are 1-4. They're not going anywhere. They look terrible.
They do
right?
look terrible.
So now the Red Wings are getting better.
They look
2-1.
They look good.
Yep, they haven't lost regulation. And then I got the Pistons. And you don't know what you're getting with the Pistons. So it just makes for a really long, dark winter. And it's just kind of like, man, spring can't get here soon enough, but it's only October. So anyways, I like Golden State is going to be like, obviously the team beating the West, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder too, because, you got the whole Draymond Green, Jordan Poole thing and this, that. And I think Draymond is really playing for another contract because I think isn't he a free agent after this year?
He is a player option. He can decline it if he would like.
Right. Well, he'll decline it. He will, dude, because he was going to want to get paid.
Probably, yeah.
Most top name NBA players that have a player option always decline it, and then they get bigger money. Yeah. I mean, Durant's done it. Irving's done it. All those guys.
Kawhi.
Always do it. Kawhi, they always do it. Then they turn around and get huge money.
Yep.
So I think this is the year where the Warriors really turn it up another notch and win another title. I mean, you can't tell me another team in the West that could beat Golden State in a 7-game series right now. There's not one. I don't think there is. I mean, unless I'm wrong.
Like, I feel like on paper there is, but on paper only matters so much just because of how much experience Golden State has.
Right. I think they've been there numerous times. And it was funny. I was driving home from work last night, and they had one of the guys, our color cast, was doing the Golden State game. They were doing like the pregame, and they've won 4 titles in 8 years.
Wow.
I mean, that's really amazing. I mean, you to win any title in any sport is hard, but to win 4 in 8 years, that's pretty much every other year you're winning, right? And that's still, I think people don't understand that. You literally from if you're playing right now and you're playing all the way to, if you get to the finals, that's late June, right? So you got really 2 months off, and then you're back at it. You're back at training camp in September, and you're playing in October. And it usually takes a toll on guys. But at the end of the day, it's crazy how people just expect professional athletes just to bounce back like right away. It takes some time, especially when you go through a grinding NBA playoffs or a grinding NHL playoffs or whatever the case may be. It's surprising, like, people just like quick to judge, like, this guy should be so much better because he had 3 months off in between the NBA finals and now. Well, still, these guys are still trying to find a groove. Again, it's only the first game of the season.
Yeah, it's a long season. 82 games, got 81 more to go.
Hmm? And there's a lot of questions to be answered. It's going to be fun. I think it's funny because me personally, I don't really watch the NBA until after Christmas. Like, Christmas Day is when I start watching the NBA. Seriously, I mean, right now it's so hard to. I mean, it's not hard to watch, but there's so much going on. Like, you got the World Series, right? The Major League Baseball playoffs. You got NFL on the weekends. All the time, every weekend. And kind of like college. Believe it or not, college is already like 7 weeks in the season, or close to 8. Mm-hmm. Their season, like most of the regular season's almost done for them. It's crazy. And then the NFL, regular season, you got most teams playing 5 and 6 games. They're kind of almost halfway through their schedule. So now you got the NBA, you got the NHL just starting recently, So there's so much going on. Me personally, as a fan of sports in general, I don't watch the NBA until Christmas Day. And then after that, I'm like, cool, let's go.
Yeah, definitely gets interesting after Christmas. Christmas Day is definitely, those games are always very exciting. Christmas Day.
Right, they always have the best games on Christmas Day. So it's always cool to sit back and, open a Christmas gift and watch LeBron blow a layup and be like, hey, Merry Christmas. Or something. So, what was your, like, you said you had like an NBA ranking system, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so give me your top 5 in the East and top 5 in the West.
My top 5 in the East, I have Milwaukee at 1, I have Miami at 2, I have Boston at 3, I have Philly at 4, and I have Cleveland at 5.
You know what? I can't disagree with you on any of those 5. In that order, I think you're spot on with those 5 in the East.
Thank you.
Because it's a Milwaukee's conference to lose.
Absolutely.
I don't think anybody's beating them in a 7-game series.
I
really
can't see it right now, especially if they have Chris Middleton healthy.
Right, absolutely. And that was the other thing; they didn't have him healthy.
Yeah.
And it was tough against the Celtics. If they had Chris Middleton, do they win that series?
I think they do.
Boston? Probably, yeah. Hate to say it, Boston fans, but that's the truth. All right, so what's your top 5 in the West?
My top 5 in the West, I have the Grizzlies at 1, I have the Suns at 2, the Mavericks at 3, the Warriors at 4, and Nuggets at 5.
Interesting. Who'd you have at 1 again?
The Memphis Grizzlies.
Really? Okay. And you had Golden State where?
I had them 4th.
Okay. Who'd you have above them?
The top 3 are Memphis, the Phoenix Suns, and the Dallas Mavericks.
Okay. My only question mark to you is, how do you put the Phoenix Suns ahead of the Golden State Warriors?
I just think when it comes playoff time, do I think they beat them? Probably not. I just think on paper in the regular season, I think Phoenix. I mean, on paper they should win it all. We all know Chris Paul can't win a playoff series for his life. Can't win they're always losing. They're always coming up short. They've lost in the finals, gotten them so many times. You see what happened last year. So I think they finish ahead of them in the regular season. Come playoff time, I'm not sure if I trust Phoenix to have a deep run because they're the Phoenix Suns.
Here's the reason why I don't trust the Phoenix Suns. Because do you have DeAndre Ayton still on that team? Does he really want to be there?
No.
No. You gotta remember, and I'm sure you've read this, like him and Monty Williams haven't talked at all.
No, they have not.
Since Game 7 last. No, they have not. I mean, hello, that's a really, really weird relationship, man. If you're one of your best guys and then talking to the head coach, you gotta address that right away. And I don't think re-signing him was a great idea if you realize he's not part of your long-term solution. And no knock on DeAndre Ayton because he's a really good player, but he couldn't really sign the contract. He had to go for the Suns had the option to match, and they have the right to do so. So
yeah,
it's not like he could turn around and be like, dude, I need out. I gotta go, which he could still do. I mean, all intents and purposes, he really could. Or he could just be like play out his last year and then go be a free agent or whatever. I still think Golden State right now is a team to beat in the West. Memphis is good, but they really haven't they've been in the playoffs, but they really haven't gotten to the mountaintop, right?
Yeah,
or even
no.
gotten
not yet.
That's the other thing. I think personally, I would put Golden State ahead of both Memphis and Phoenix. Who did you have at 3? Would you have the Mavericks anywhere in the top 5?
Yeah, I have them at 3.
Oh, you have them ahead of Golden State.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I think Dallas needs to. I think Dallas is still one or two players away from overthrowing Golden State.
Very possible, yeah.
Yeah, Luka Doncic can only do so much, man. And they tried the whole Kristaps Porzingis
that
deal.
did not work at all.
Didn't work out. So for me personally, you gotta make. I mean, I think you're gonna see some teams make some deals at the trade deadline this year that are just gonna get better. And I think the Mavericks are a team that really need to go out and get another player for Luka that can perform and stay healthy.
Yeah, they.
Who'd you have behind Golden State? Who's number 5?
The Denver Nuggets.
Nuggets, okay. I like them because they're gonna have all their players back.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
so
that's definitely.
Back.
You get Porter Jr. back.
And then you have Aaron. You still got Aaron Gordon on that team.
Mm-hmm.
Murray, Porter Jr., another one. And they got some. And it's looking at their roster right now while I'm talking to you on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
They got some players there. You're like, really? They're on the Denver Nuggets, which is crazy. And I'm like, I didn't know this happened. Right? DeAndre Jordan's on that team.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, Bruce Brown, former Piston in Brooklyn Net.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Green.
That's right.
There's another one. My man Ish Smith, who's been on 20 different NBA teams.
He has. He's been on every team.
Yeah. So, but I think Denver's depth will help them, come playoff time because you'll have guys coming off the bench. As much as you don't really like DeAndre Jordan, I mean, he could still rebound the ball and play defense.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not. You're not gonna he's not going to score, but he can play defense and get rebounds. He's like, another Andre Drummond kind of guy. He can. He's not. You're not going to get him to score. He's going to play defense and grab your rebounds. So, and do they still play defense in the NBA?
Not really. The teams that do are the ones that are winning, but there's very few of those guys.
I mean, playoff time they all do, but regular season it's kind of like free for all. It's either 3-pointers or layups, and don't foul them because if you do, you're toast.
Yep.
So, I'm intrigued by the season. I am intrigued. I look forward to the NBA. And always a fan of the playoffs because that really is a true testament of what your team is about and how they're built for the long run. And I think the Lakers are. I love the Lakers, man. They're great. If they win 40 games, I'd be impressed.
Honestly, yes, I am. They're not that. They're not good.
No. And I think with the Lakers, LeBron's in year 20, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What does really LeBron James have to prove?
Nothing.
Nothing, exactly. So, and I still respect LeBron as a great player. Do I think he's the greatest of all time?
Absolutely not.
No, I do not. But he's been to so many NBA finals, and he's won his fair share of NBA titles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of these guys could just like walk away and be like, okay, like Tom Brady, dude. You know me, dude. I'm a huge Bucs fan, but that guy needs to go away. I'm sorry. He
looks like a guy who just doesn't know where he is at this point.
He's done, and his world's literally falling apart around him. His wife's probably going to divorce him.
Yep.
But I hate the notion when players play because they have something to prove when they've already. To me personally, LeBron James has proven it already over time and time again.
He has.
And he's still one of the best players to ever play the game. And no one's going to take that away from you. No one can take away your NBA titles. Will he be? Now, he has a chance to be the overall scoring leader, right? Correct, this year?
Yeah.
Okay, so he'll pass, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right?
Yeah.
I'll pass him, no problem. Isn't that ironic? They both played for the Lakers, and Kareem doesn't even like LeBron James.
He literally doesn't.
No, he doesn't. Really doesn't. And it's funny because, Kareem, when you look, through the anvils of time with the Los Angeles Lakers, there's so many great players that have played on that team, on those teams, like Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant. Can you really put LeBron James as one of the best Los Angeles Lakers to ever play?
He hasn't played there long enough.
No, but I don't think you could either way. Because he's not going to be there much longer, dude. He's in year 20 of the league. I mean, that's a long time.
I mean, he already said he's playing his last year with Bronny, and if the Lakers aren't getting Bronny, he ain't playing for the Lakers.
Yeah, well, I still think he's going to Cleveland somehow.
He'll find a way. He'll get there. He'll get there.
So have you gone over tonight's schedule?
I have not.
There's some really good games.
I know my New York Knicks play the Grizzlies tonight on ESPN at 7:30.
That'll be a good game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at the schedule as you and I are talking. Cleveland plays Toronto. I think that's going to be a good game.
Yes.
Toronto's favored by 2.5. Pelicans Nets in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And Bulls Heat. Miami's favored by 7.5 in that game. We're in Mavericks Suns at 10 o'clock ESPN. Phoenix is favored by 4.5.
Okay. So there's definitely some good games on tonight. Obviously, Phoenix and Dallas is a playoff rematch. Phoenix is going to want to get their revenge, and Dallas is going to want to try to prove, hey, we're one of the best teams. We can win the whole thing this year. So that'll be a really good game. I'm excited for Knicks Grizzlies. That'll be a big statement win for the Knicks for sure if they can knock off the Grizzlies, who are probably a top 2 team in the West.
Yeah, and I with the Knicks, I mean, what do you got this year? I mean, 2 years ago, everybody was super excited to be a Knicks fan, and they were playing really well. And last year, they just looked like garbage.
They were horrible.
They were horrible. And then everyone's like, why are you paying Julius Randle all this money? Da-da-da-da. So, but they've got some, I mean, I think they've got some really key pieces that will make that team better. Again, RJ Barrett's going to be much more comfortable. They got Jalen Brunson free agency, so he's your main guy at point guard. Evan Fournier, again, just Cam Reddish off of a decent year. I think he's going to be better. Derrick Rose still in the fold, and Obi Toppin. So I think, and Thibodeau is always, to my mind, man, Jake, honestly, Tom Thibodeau is one of the best coaches in the NBA.
He's a very good coach, yeah.
And they give that dude a raw deal every single time.
Yeah.
Like when he was in Chicago, got a raw deal. When he was in Minnesota, he got a raw deal. I mean, and it's crazy because Derrick Rose has followed him everywhere he's gone, with the exception of Detroit.
Yeah.
But like Chicago, like he was really good in Chicago. He didn't have a healthy Derrick Rose. They win a lot more games than him. Minnesota, you had Derrick Rose, you had Jimmy Butler on that team at the same time.
Yeah.
Some other, and Karl Anthony Towns, and those guys all didn't get along. But the Timberwolves are going to be better. I like, tonight's. I think the game tonight. I think there's 2 of them that really stand out: Cleveland and Toronto. Donovan Mitchell playing his first game as a Cavalier in Toronto. I think it's going to be an amazing game. And that Miami game tonight against the Bulls, because I'm really interested to see how the Bulls bounce back from the year they had. They had a pretty solid year last year, if you really think about it. But they, no Lonzo Ball for who knows how long. But they still bring back, they still got, Vucevic. They got Zach LaVine. They got Javonte Green, another guy. Andre Drummond's on that team. Hey.
Oh, yeah.
Goran Dragic and DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso. So they have a pretty solid squad.
They do.
And to see how that team comes out of the box early, and that's the key, dude. If you get out of the box early and you play well early, you have you have a really good chance of making the playoffs. But if you start off really slow, like the Pistons last year were god awful.
Yeah.
Out of the box. And if you get in a big, huge hole in this league often, and I know there's 82 games, but you literally have to fight over a bunch of teams just to get to that next spot. It's so hard to come back from. You know that, right?
Yeah.
So you got to play. You got to get off to a good start. I know it's only game 1. I know a lot of people are excited. You get your NBA League Pass free for the next week or two for free.
Woo!
You can watch all the games, free trial, and then you got to pony up some money. So
basically,
if you or better yet, talk to Cap. No Cap. He seems like he knows everything about computers and finding the link to watch all the games.
Yes, Cap is great with basketball or with watching basketball. Another guy who calls into my show sometimes.
It's hilarious. Hey, by the way, I saw your show is now on YouTube.
It is.
Stellar.
Thank you.
Love it, dude. Love it. So, and I see that you got your little fancy studio there.
Yes.
All that crazy stuff.
Where I go to school at Sacred Heart University, they have a studio that they built late last spring. So now I'm able to when I'm up at school, I can do this podcast, a little more professionally, I guess.
Right. So, do you give away valuable prizes? Prizes to callers.
I do not, unfortunately.
You suck. You need to reach out to somebody and advertise on your show, like Wally's Wall-Eyed or something, or where you're at.
Yeah, I gotta start doing some ad reads.
Right, you gotta do some advertising. Brought to you by McDonald's. Buy one, get one for $1 today. I'm telling you, man, we work wonders for you. So, what else is going on? Everything else good?
Yeah, school's going well. I got this gig I'm doing right now. It's going well, and life's been good.
Good, man. Well, I appreciate you letting me call into your show.
Of course.
For all you, do you have a phone number that people could call into your show or no?
I do.
You do? What's the phone number?
I'm gonna put it in the chat.
Oh, fancy. Is it 1-800-CALL-JAKE?
You know what? I'll just say it. Yeah. You know what? Yeah. It's 1-800-CALL-JAKE. Protect my actual number. It's 1-800-CALL.
Really?
No.
I was like, man, that's really good.
1-800-CALL-JAKE. Let's just go.
Man.
Let's just
call Jake.
Yeah.
At least you're not an attorney like one of those attorneys.
Oh, God.
If you get hit in a car accident, call 1-800-CALL-JAKE. I mean, it could work for you. You know, if this doesn't work out for you, you could always do that. And then you'd be fine.
Yeah.
So what else is going on, man? Family good? Everything else good?
Yeah, my family's well. I'm healthy, and life's good.
Good. So what's the weather like there in Boston?
I'm in Connecticut. We're close to New England now. It's getting a little chilly, but still, it's been very nice though. We've had a little bit of rain, but not too much.
Well, it's been in the 40s the past 3 days here in rockin' Detroit, Michigan. So, but it's supposed to be nice this weekend. It's supposed to be near 70.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So then it'll go back to the normal eventually after that. So on that note, man, 1-800-CALL-JAKE. Operators are standing by to take your phone call.
Yep, that's right.
Always a pleasure, brother. Thanks for the time. Greatly talk a little sports with you. So let me ask you this before you go.
Mm-hmm.
What do you now? You're a Patriots fan, correct?
I am a Jets fan.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Jets are actually playing some really good ball.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the Jets can kind of like keep going? You know what I mean? They're 4-2, correct?
They are.
Now, do you think that's something that could be sustainable? Like, could you see them winning, let's say, 8 games this year, maybe 9?
I think they can. I think you just looking at their schedule, they have another game with Miami, who seems like a bit of a mess. The New England Patriots aren't anything special this year. They got 2 games with them. You know, they get Denver, who looks like a mess. They got them this week. So,
would you like to be a Broncos fan right now?
Oh, good lord.
Dude, you're paying Russell Wilson $250 million to suck.
Basically, yeah.
And he does suck.
He's
yeah.
washed.
So here's the crazy thing. As I was talking to you, I kind of went on the ESPN app. They're playing the Broncos on Sunday. They should beat the Broncos. Really, yes. They should. Like, Russell Wilson is like a shelf of his former self. But here's the interesting part, man. The next 3 games after that, home against the Patriots, home against Buffalo, at New England. So that's 3 games against your division. I think those 3 games are really going to tell what you're in store for the rest of the season. If you don't win your division games, you're really going to struggle to make the playoffs.
Definitely.
I think personally, Jake, I'll be honest with you, man, you should beat the Broncos, okay. So that makes you 5-2. You got to win at least 2 or 3 against. Now, the Bills are going to be really good, obviously. But if you sweep the Patriots twice, let's say, or somehow, some way you beat the Bills and the Patriots like in one of those 2 games. So now you go to 7-3, and you have 7 games left. You're kind of not. I'm not saying you're not sitting pretty, but you've got a really, good chance to do something. I mean, because then you got the Bears at home.
Yeah.
Oh God. Will they let Justin Fields throw the ball more than 10 times a game? Oh my God.
Yeah, that's what he's screwed in Chicago.
Minnesota,
okay.
Minnesota. Which is funny because they're 5-1, but are they really 5-1?
I mean, I don't think it's sustainable. They might win that division because the Packers look like a dumpster fire and the Bears and Lions suck, but
yeah, isn't that crazy how like the Packers? At the beginning of the year, I thought the Packers were going to be okay without Devontae Adams, but now that guy's like, passing game is non-existent right now.
It's terrible.
Like because Aaron Rodgers throws the ball, no one catches the ball. It's like they'll drop it, or they run wrong routes, or they do something stupid, and you're just like, dude, what are you doing over there?
Yeah.
So the Jets have surprised me. I know you're not a Giants fan, but the Giants are obviously they're 5-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, surprise, right? 5-1.
Big surprise.
The Eagles, I think, again, best team in the NFC, 6-0. And someone had the audacity to say, "Oh, could they go undefeated like the Dolphins?" No.
Stop.
No. Stop. Yeah, exactly. Stop. It's just retarded. And then here's the crazy part. Now, you know me, I'm a Buccaneers fan. I think the Buccaneers are terrible. I really do.
They did not look very good.
No. They look good. Honestly, they've looked good in one game this year, Jake, and that was the first game of the year against Dallas.
Yeah.
They looked awful against Atlanta, and they should have lost that game. And then
that was a horrible penalty.
Oh, God. And I'm a Bucs fan, and I went, dude, that's not roughing the passer. That's a Tom Brady, we want to protect our 40-year-old dude.
Yeah, literally.
Seriously, I was like, and I was watching that game with my son, Jake, and I'm like, wow, they just really called that. And seriously, and I'm like, wow. And Tom Brady just looks like a shell. Like, he's 40-something years old, dude.
45. He literally does not. He looks washed, to be honest.
He does. And it's just, it's sad. And here's the crazy thing. Now, if you look at the NFC West real quick, you have 3 teams at 3-3, and they're all tied for the division. San Francisco, Rams, Seattle, right? The Seahawks are 3-3.
Wow.
And everyone's like, the Seahawks aren't going to be any good this year. And it's funny is they scored they've scored over. They have 146 points this year right? Top 5 in the league in offense, right?
Yeah.
They've given up 163 points this year, which is by far one of the worst, right?
Yeah.
But it's just crazy how the league is so like. I honestly, now, don't take this the wrong way, Jake. I love you like a brother, but right now the NFL product is terrible.
It's not good. It's not good.
Awful. You cannot, for the life of me, be happy with Thursday Night Football. It's
my Lord.
Oh, and I feel bad for, like, Amazon spent millions and millions of dollars to get the
Jeff Bezos is actually short on money, but Amazon's probably like, what the F did we just do?
Right, exactly, dude. And it's just like unbelievable. And it's so hard to watch. Like, it's funny. Last week, they had the Bears on, right? And they were playing the Commanders.
Oh, God.
That was just as bad as the Denver game against the Chargers.
Against the Colts, yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that was so bad, too. I'm like, oh, my God, I couldn't believe it. And then the Bears were the ugliest jerseys on the planet. What are those? With the ugliest helmets I've ever seen. I'm like, who in their right mind comes up with that crap? And they're like, oh, it looks great. Dude, all those guys look like was like pumpkins running around.
Yeah, those were hideous. Those were hideous.
And the Commanders jerseys weren't any better.
Not really, no.
And they're just awful. I'm like, oh God, help me. But it's just like it's the NFL product right now is so bad because you have. I mean, if you look at like the standings, you have Buffalo 5-1, Jets 4-2, which is surprising, right?
Yep.
Kansas City and the Chargers are 4-2. You have 4 teams at 3-3. Dolphins, New England, Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati. You talk about a really bad division. AFC North.
Oof.
Yeesh. Yeah, right. So and then in the AFC South, Tennessee 3-2. Obviously, their division to lose. Colts 3-2-1, and then the high school team known as the Houston Texans 3-1, whatever. But then Denver and Vegas. Now in the AFC, you got Philly 6-0, Giants 5-1, Minnesota 5-1, Dallas 4-2. Notice I paused after that, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody else is 3-3 and 2-4. It's just garbage. It's so bad. And then I don't know about you, dude. But to go to a Lions game, it's a little good chunk of change, man.
Yeah.
And pretty personally, I'm not spending money on that crap. I'm really not.
I don't blame you.
No, and I don't want to. And my son's like, Dad, let's go to a Lions game. I'm like, I'm not going to. You could go down there. You could Uber down there if you want.
Is he missing like 10?
So, no, he's 8.
Yeah, he's 8. You can Uber down there.
He'll be down there, and he'll be 9 in November. I just told him, I said, dude, why don't you just get an Uber and go down there? I'll pay for it. Go down there. You'll have a good time. And people are like, you're nuts. I'm like, yeah, he's not going.
I don't think that's safe for a 9-year-old.
No, probably not. You'd be amazed, dude. I'm telling you. I used to do Uber for like a living, like before COVID, which by the way, I did very, very well with that. And like I would pick up like kids, like 10, 11, 12 years old from their house to go to football practice.
I mean, that's kind of different. If they're going to practice and, they're in like 5th grade and like, their parents can't drive for whatever reason, that's a little different. Like driving from your house to a stadium with thousands and thousands of people without the door at 10 years old. No.
Oh man, come on, man. No, I'm just kidding. I would never tell anybody to do that.
I mean, he's your child. So that's completely up to you.
Oh, I'm not doing that, dude. I'm not that dumb. All right, on that note, bud, I'm gonna call it an afternoon. Always a pleasure. And when in doubt, call 1-800-CALL Jake.
That's right.
You're in the semi-auto accident, in his new life when he graduates from college. He's gonna be
That is not true. That is not the career path I am taking.
All right, buddy. Miss you love you like a brother, man. Have a great day, okay?
You as well, Smooth. Thanks for tuning in. That's Smooth. He comes to my show all the time. He's great. We always have great conversations. Back to my NBA preview. I got the Sixers at 4 in the East. The Sixers, this is a big year for them. Because they got Joel Embiid, they got James Harden. If Harden can find his Houston self, they should be unstoppable. You saw that clip from practice like a month or two ago of Doc Rivers telling him, he's saying, we need you to score. You are not here to be a facilitator. You're here to score the basketball. And he did not look good last year. Outside of, what was it, the second to last postseason game where he put up 33 points. Other than that, he did not look good. Maybe the very beginning when he first got there in the regular season and that one game in the postseason. Other than that, he looked, honestly, I agree with Charles Barkley. He looked cooked. He did not look good at all. I was saying, their stuff isn't fantastic, but they do have some guys I just went over, but, in the front court, their depth isn't great. Tucker's, obviously he's just a guy who can play the 3 and the 4, but he ain't playing center. And he played in those Rockets small ball lineups, but that was, kind of a different situation. Georges Niang is nothing special. Montrezl Harrell, okay, fine, he's a pretty good bench piece, but so I think they're under a lot of pressure just because, Joel Embiid, I think got to looking at him. The game of Jimmy Butler, it didn't work. You couldn't win with Jimmy Butler. You couldn't win with Ben Simmons. He so far has not been able to win with James Harden. If he can't win with Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons will give him a pass on because he's the guy who probably wasn't a very good pairing of him because he can't score and he's got off the court issues. But you couldn't win with Jimmy Butler. All right. To be fair, that was half a season. But if he gets all right, I'll give him a slight pass because he was playing through a lot of injuries, and you only got Harden up at towards the line, but now he's healthy now. Harden for a full year. There should be no reason why this Sixers team can't get to at least the Eastern Conference Finals. They have not been able to second round. This process is taking an awfully long time. I'm getting a little tired of it. This is it. Is it championship or bust? I don't know. You look at some of these teams in the East. Milwaukee is definitely a championship caliber squad. They won 2 years ago. If Chris Middleton was healthy, they would have had a good shot to win last year. Miami, the team that was in the finals 2 years ago, was one shot away from being in the finals last year. Boston was in the finals last year. they're just as good. If they adjust to Joe Mazzulla, well, they could get back there no problem. So it is a tough road, but they got to at least get to the Eastern Conference Final. Also, Doc Rivers has blown so many leads in the playoffs. It's ridiculous how he still has a job. So not only there's a lot of pressure because Joel Embiid, he's a great player, but at some point we got to start looking at him like he can't work well with others. He's always getting hurt. At some point we got to put some blame on him, and Harden has failed in the postseason, God knows how many times. Maybe give him a pass or two because the 1 year where Chris Paul got hurt, that's not on him. The Warriors is no time that they were a dynasty, but also he's had some bad performances in the postseason. You see what he did last year; it's not good. He quit in Houston, he quit in Brooklyn. Just the Philly Ben Simmons is out of there. You got Embiid, Harden, Tucker all have something to prove. This is it. They got to go and get it now. They got to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and if they don't, honestly, I think if they don't get to at least the Eastern Conference Finals, I think you fire Doc Rivers. I think Rivers is gone. If you lose him a second round again, that's my bold take. Finishing in fifth in the Eastern Conference, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers. They pick up Donovan Mitchell in a big trade. Of course, they pick up one of the shooting guards in the NBA from the Utah Jazz. In that trade, they gave up Lauri Markkanen, a young power forward. They give up Ochai Agbaji, who they took in the first round this year. They got Colin Sexton, a young point guard, and a couple of first-round draft picks. Now they got an incredible backcourt of Darius Garland, who was an all-star last year, just got a big max extension, and Donovan Mitchell. You got Karis LeVert, is a really good player. Their front court is so strong. Evan Mobley was rookie of the year finalist. Jared Allen, when healthy, he's a great player. You got Kevin Love, who did have a pretty good year off the bench. In your backcourt, you got Ricky Rubio healthy. He's still a very good player. Isaac Carr's a young guy who's really good. Cedi Osman's a pretty good player. They got a great team. Jimmy Bickerstaff did a good job last year. If they were healthy, at one point they were a top 4 team in the East last year. At one point, if they're healthy, I think they're a really good team. So, are they a championship contender right now? Probably not, but I do think they are a top 5 team in the East. Finishing sixth, I have the Atlanta Hawks, who 2 years ago, of course, after they made the coaching change and they promote Nate McMillan, they went on a tear and ended up going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Last year, we thought they could take a big step forward, could be a sleeper team to watch as a championship contender, and they ended up taking a step back, end up a play-in team, and then they lose in the first round. But you got Trae Young. As a Knicks fan, I cannot stand the guy. Of course, he always owns the Knicks, and he's antic at the guard, but also he's a complete crybaby. But he is an absolute assassin on the basketball court. They pick up Dejounte Murray, one of the best young guards in the league. That's an incredible backcourt duo. We got Bogdanovich, who can really shoot. John Collins is a great player. A lot of problems, they had a lot of injuries last year, I think. You had Bogdanovich, who's one of the best sharpshooters spot shooters in the league. He was hurt. John Collins, who was a great player, really good stretch 4, stretch 5. He was hurt last year. I think DeAndre Harden's a guy that they gave him an extension from a top 5 pick. He's a great player. A guy who at Virginia was a beast. He's a really good shooter. Having him healthy, you got a lot of young guys on the bench. If AJ Griffin, Jalen Johnson, they got Okonwu, even Jarrett Culver, who is a boss, but you got him there. Got the Holiday brothers, Aaron and Justin Holiday on your bench. You also have Clint Capella, who's a great rebounder. This is a really good basketball team. They got a veteran head coach, Nate McMillan. I think they're definitely a lot better than they were last year. I got them at 6. And now, so that's the playoffs. The play-ins in the Eastern Conference. By the way, get rid of the play-ins. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. The Spurs last year had 34 wins and they made the play-ins. It's so dumb. Get rid of it. It's stupid. So stupid. At 7th in the Eastern Conference, I'm going with the Chicago Bulls. The East is really, really loaded. The Bulls are a team that you think they're only at 7th, but that's just how the Eastern Conference falls. They're a really good team. Zach LaVine, who's out the first game of the season for the Bulls tonight because of a knee injury, should be fine after that. He's an incredible scorer. He can defend. DeMar DeRozan had a big bounce back year last year. He's a great scorer. You got two really good scorers. Vooch is a really underrated center. He's a double-double machine. I like Alex Caruso, who I know he's a bit of a meme, but he is a really good defender. Can score a bit. That being said, my Lonzo Ball, who I don't think has lived up to being the second pick in the draft. I think his father kind of got in his head a little bit, kind of put him under a lot of pressure. It's a bit of a hot take I have. Ball kind of ruined his career a little bit. Excuse me. But he has developed into a pretty good player. He's a really good defender. He's become a decent shooter. Is still young, pretty good floor general. We don't know when. He might miss the entire year. Probably won't, but we'll see him at some point. Probably don't know when. So I think that thins out their depth quite a bit. That's what I had them dropping to the first playing team. I mean, at one point when they were healthy last year, they were the top team in the Eastern Conference. And the injuries hit, and they ended up kind of falling, the 5, 6, 7 range. I think they're the first playing team. The second playing team, I'm going with the Toronto Raptors. I think they're a solid team. They're definitely building something. Fred VanVleet's a really good scoring point guard. Gary Trent Jr. is another guy who's a really good scorer. He can shoot the basketball. Pascal Siakam, I love. Big man who could shoot. Great scorer. Unstoppable. Takes to the hole. Great defender. This kid, Scotty Barnes, he's going to be something special. This kid has it all. Oggy Anunoby's a pretty good player. Again, their depth isn't as, the depth is so important in the Eastern Conference, which I think what separates them from our team. They just don't have that depth, so I got them at 8. At 9, I have the Brooklyn Nets. You might say that's a little low. Obviously, on paper, when you have Kevin Durant, who when healthy is probably the best player in the world, Kyrie, when healthy, is a top player in this league. Joe Harris is healthy. He's a great shooter. If Ben Simmons is healthy and had his head screwed on straight, he's a great defender. And he can pass the basketball. He can grab some rebounds. I like Nick Claxton as a stretch 5. They got some better depth with Seth Curry and Patty Mills in your backer. Cam Thomas is a good shooter. You bring in T.J. Warren who can score. But there's just so many issues there with Kyrie, Durant. Both of them have injury concern. Both of them have off-the-court issues. You never know. Kyrie's contract is coming up. Would they tempted to trade him? I don't think the team. Steve Nash is. I don't think it's that good of a coach. Should Kevin Durant have the right to say fire him or keep me? Absolutely not. But I still don't think he's a very good coach. And although they have better depth, if Kyrie's, you can count on him to miss 38. You can count on Durant to miss 48. You can count on Ben Simmons. You can count on Ben Simmons to probably miss the whole year. T.J. Warren, who's on their freaking bench, has injury concerns. If this is a team that has 3 or 4 guys that could miss significant time, they have better depth than they had last year when they really didn't have much depth at all. Which is, I think, part of the reason they made the Harden trade. 1, didn't want to be there, and 2, they're like, we have no depth, and we're an injury-prone team. That's not a good mixture at all. So their depth is definitely a better depth, but if they lose 3 or 4 guys, I think if they lose 3 or 4 guys, which is possible because of how many injury concerns they have their team, they're still going to be very depth-tested. And there's just too many moving parts. This experiment did not work. Experiment's over. That's why I have them finishing only 9th. I have the Knicks at 10. I'm a Knicks fan. I'm not that impressed with their team. I think they make the play-ins, but Brunson's a good pickup. I think he's a very good point guard. Now he'll have the ball in his hands more than he did in Dallas because Dallas has Luka, of course, who's one of the league's best players. I think he's a guy who can be a really good scorer in this league, really good floor general, very good passer. He played really well in the postseason last year. I think it's a really good pickup. Obviously, RJ Barrett, I think, might be an all-star this year. Fournier, I thought played better in the second half. He's a pretty good shooter. Mitchell Robinson can rebound the basketball. The big thing is Julius Randle. Which Randle will we get? Do we get the guy we got 2 years ago, where he was an all-star, was voted the most improved player, averaged 24 points a game, 10 boards, 5 assists, shot 40% from the field, and was a decent defender? Or will we get the guy last year, although he put up 18 points a game and 10 boards and 4 or 5 assists, he also couldn't shoot for his life, was a turnover machine, was always getting in arguments with the coaches and the players, was not a good teammate, was not a good leader. They were honestly better from off the floor, terrible defender. Which Julius Randle are we getting? That's a big question mark. I like some of the guys I have on their bench. I love Obi Toppin, really good young player. Derrick Rose healthy. I like him in quickly. He's a good shooter. Very good defender. Also, a lot of these guys have injury concerns. Of course, Derrick Rose. Miles McBride, Grimes, Cam Reddish. So, their depth is not bad, but it could be better. Overall, their team has a bunch of questions. It's a team that already their ceiling isn't that high, and they still have a bunch of question marks. So, but I think they sneak in to the play-ins. Rounding out the East, you got the Charlotte Hornets. They have some playmakers. I love LaMelo Ball, really good young point guard. You got Miles Bridges. Of course, he's got his off-the-court issue, but on the court, he is a great player. I like P.J. Washington. Outside of that, I'm not impressed by anything. Terry Rozier is a very good scorer, but he's a horrendous defender. Gordon Hayward's a really good player when healthy, but he can't stay healthy. James Bouknight's a good young guard, but he still isn't proven. Kobe Bryant's pretty good. They have a decent bench. Bring back Steve Clifford. That's just bring back the old guard. That didn't work, if you ask me. I don't think he's that great of a coach. They kind of got screwed over with Kenny Atkinson backing out last minute. But they just don't impress me at all. You got Washington. They do still have Bradley Beal, who is a great player, great shooting guard, great shooter, great scorer. I like them drafting Johnny Davis, who's I think he's a really good combo guard who can score. They got some young guys there who I like. Corey Kispert's a guy who I think has the potential to shoot the basketball. I think Porzingis, he's still a really good player, but that knee injury really dug him in. He's not the guy he was in New York. I don't expect to see that. Kyle Kuzma looks better than he did with the Lakers. Decent defender, can score a bit, but he's nothing special. And on their bench, I don't see anything that I love. Rui Hachimura, I don't think has lived up to the hype being a first rounder. Denny Avdija, same thing. So there's just nothing special. And just Indiana's terrible. I love Halliburton, great young guard. I like them drafting Benedict Mathurin. But even some of the guys that they have, like Buddy Hield, I think will be traded. I think Miles Turner will be traded. Even TJ McConnell is a really good defender on your bench. Might get traded. They have some young. I already mentioned Howard. I mentioned Mathurin. Chris Duarte is another one. Aaron Nesmith's another one. But I just think that they're a team that's going to look they're just looking to stockpile draft picks, and even if it means tanking, that's what they're going to do. In Detroit, they're a little better. Cade and Ivy in the backcourt in a couple of years could be pretty scary. I like Sadiq Bey, who can shoot. You bring in Bogdanovich, who's a good shooter. But just their bench just has nothing. I like Duran, the first round center, but he's still a rookie. No one's only there to play for defense and rebounding. Alec Burks can shoot a little bit. Isaiah Stewart's pretty good. Other than, Cade, Ivy, Sadiq Bey, and Bogdanovich, and three of those guys are still very young and very raw. There's nothing on this team at all. I think the Magic are the worst team in the East. Have some young guys they like. They draft Boncaro first overall. I like Franz Wagner. I do like Jalen Suggs. Cole Anthony's okay. Terrence Ross is okay. They have a lot of young players. Marco Fultz I don't think is good at all. Gary Harris is not that good. Arthur Hampton we'll see. Chumo Kiki we'll see. Jonathan Isaac, I think he's okay. All these big guys they have. Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter Jr., Bol Bol. I wouldn't mind seeing Bobo get a shot if he can stay healthy. But he hasn't proven himself. I don't think Mo Bamba's that good. Wendell Carter is, I think, a solid 10-10 guy, but nothing more. They got a young coach in Jamal Mosley. They're just not there yet. In the West, actually, the Memphis Grizzlies leading the Western Conference and finishing in first place in the West. John Morant, I think, is an MVP candidate, absolute superstar. You got Desmond Bane, who's a great shooter. Jaren Jackson Jr., it's 7 feet tall, can shoot the three, amazing defender. Dylan Brooks is a great 3-and-D guy. You got some bench guys like Brandon Clark, Tyus Jones, Xavier Tillman. Steven Adams is a good solid center. You bring in Danny Green. He's a guy who's older, but he's still a solid shooter, can defend a little bit. He's got a lot of playoff experience. He's won 3 rings on 3 different teams. A really good young head coach in Taylor Jenkins, who I thought should have won Coach of the Year. So, I'm going with Memphis to finish in first. In second, I do have the Phoenix Suns. I mean, Suns, I think it's championship or bust. I do. You got Devin Booker is an assassin. Great shooter, great scorer. Chris Paul is a guy who's an incredible scorer, great passer. He is a great player. He truly is a great leader. And then you got McKibben, who's a really good 3-and-D guy. And they have some good depth. Cameron Payne, Landry Shamet in the back corner, front court. Cameron Johnson is a nice bench piece. I like Dario Saric. But Aiden, who's a very good player, can be a really good 20-and-10 guy. He does not want to be there. I could see him being traded after the season when Wayne's out because he just signed a contract. Dude, he would rather go to the Indiana Pacers to be with the Suns, and the Suns is just matched. They're definitely under a lot of pressure. 2 years ago, lost in the final after being up 2-0. Last year, they should have won the whole thing, lose in the second round, lose by 40 in Game 7, your own building to an inferior team in Dallas Mavericks. That was embarrassing. I'm tired of Chris Paul choking the playoff. He's a great player, but the dude's a choke artist. Why is he the point guard? Well, what has he done to earn that title? He is not the point guard. Absolutely not. No. Great player. One of the greatest, 7 greatest point guards of all time. Definitely going in the Hall of Fame one day. But just don't tell me he's the top 5 point guard of all time. Stop. Just stop right there. They got to win a championship this year, but otherwise they're going to start looking at, is Monty Williams the right coach? They're going to start looking at Devin Booker, who, by the way, is a complete bitch. He complains way too much. People might be like, oh wait, Chris Paul is not that good in the playoffs. Yeah, no kidding. DeAndre doesn't want to be there. This is last year. I think it's his last year in Phoenix. I don't care about his contract. But I just don't trust Chris Paul and company. Finishing in third, I actually have the Dallas Mavericks. Of course, that is starring Luka Doncic, who's a top 5 player in the game, arguably. Dude can do literally anything on the court. I'm not a fan. He's a big crybaby, but he is an amazing player. He's a magician on the basketball court. But you got Dinwiddie, who played great after coming over in a trade. Really good scoring guard. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a really good shooter. You got Christian Wood's a scoring big man you bring in. Great player. Love that pickup. Maxi Kleber's a decent 3-and-D guy. You got some young guys on that bench I like. Josh Green, Jaden Hardy, Dorian Finney-Smith. Jason Kidd's I think a pretty good coach. Of course, he knows the organization. He used to play there. Of course, he's a Hall of Fame point guard. I think he's made a good impact there. So I'm going to go with Dallas third. In 4-5, I have the Golden State Warriors. Might be a little bit lower than you guys think, but okay, Steph Curry is amazing. That's out of the way. One of the league's best players, greatest shooter ever. Klay Thompson is also one of the greatest shooters ever. Both of them will be in the Hall of Fame one day, especially Stephen Curry. Andrew Wiggins is a great player. He has blossomed from a number 1 pick. Just got a big deal as a Jordan Poole, who's turning into an incredible scorer. Draymond, I'm not a fan of. He's very annoying, but he is a great defender. But they do lose a bunch of depth. You lose Gary Payton. You lost a couple of depth guys who depth isn't quite as good. Moses Moody is not proven yet. Jonathan Kuminga is not proven yet. Andre Iguodala is pretty washed. I like DiVincenzo's a decent 3-and-D guy, but nothing more. I think if James Wiseman stays healthy and plays like a top 3 pick, this is a team that might go back-to-back. But there's no promises he can do that because he just can't stay on the court. So yeah, I got them at 4th. Still a great team, though. And come playoff time, I'm still, even though I only have them ranked at 4th, I'm still not sure if a team can beat them. At 5th, I got the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic's a top 5 player in the game, but dude is amazing. One of the greatest athletes I've seen for a guy his size in my entire life. They're helping out. They got a great point guard, Jamal Murray, who's an incredible scorer. You get back Michael Porter Jr., who's a great scorer, great shooter, great athlete, back. I like Bones Highland, a young guy. Aaron Gordon's a really good defender. He can score. They just don't have a depth that Phoenix and Memphis and those guys do. It's 6th in the West. I got the LA Clippers. Okay, Clippers. If everything goes right, this is a team that could be a championship contender. Kawhi is back when healthy. Probably the best 2-way player in the league. Paul George is one of the best 2-way players in the league when healthy. You got Marcus Morris, a pretty good scorer. I like them adding John Wall. Norman Powell is a good scorer, guy you traded for last year. You got some pretty good depth. But just the point guard position, Reggie Jackson is their starter. He's nothing special. John Wall, although I do like them picking him up, he's older. He's still a decent scorer, but he's nothing more. And if Kawhi and if Paul George and these guys get hurt again, although they have some decent depth, they lose 2 or 3 guys, they're going to be a little tested. I think Ty Lue's a decent coach, but I don't think he's as elite coach that people say he is. The championship that they really won in Cleveland was really mostly LeBron and Kyrie. I don't think he's an okay coach. I don't think he's the best. I think he's a little overrated. So I just think there's too many things that could go wrong with the Clips, so I got them at 6. In the play, I have Minnesota at 7. Yes, they were 7th last year. Now you trade for Rudy Gobert. You think they'll be a little higher. And they have a lot of playmakers on that team, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Down low, having Karl-Anthony Towns, who's an absolute assassin. And Gobert, who's a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, amazing rebounder, can score inside of it. And then you have D'Lo and Anthony Edwards in the backcourt, 2 great scorers. But they really don't have a lot of depth. They don't have enough depth to compete with these other guys. Outside of the 4 guys, the first 4 names I mentioned, Cat, Gobert, D'Lo, and Anthony Edwards, there's nothing much else on this team. I like Chris Finch, a young coach. He did a good job last year. He's done a good job since taking over there. About a year and a half, 2 years ago, but they're still a piece. They're still at least a piece or 2 away, I think. Honestly, they overpaid for Rudy Gobert. It's a bit of a hot take. The second play-in spot at the 8th seed, I have New Orleans Pelicans. Obviously, this all rests on the shoulders of Zion Williamson, and can he stay healthy? But for now, he's healthy. And then we know he is a incredible athlete, incredible inside scorer. They got a lot of young guys on that team I like. You got CJ McCollum's a great player. Brandon Ingram is a great player. Jonas Valanciunas is a really good big man. I love Valanciunas, incredible player. 7 feet tall. He's a pretty good shooter, great defender. Great rebounder. I got a lot of young guys on that team. Got a lot of good young guards on that team. Dyson Dan, he just drafted. Kira Lewis Jr. Devontae Graham's a solid scorer. Jose Alvarado a great defender. But their front court depth, I think, is pretty weak, which is a concern considering their starting power forward is Zion, who, of course, can't stay on the court. So, again, their lack of depth puts them a little lower. I'll put them at 8th. At 9th, I got the Portland Trailblazers. At the 9th spot, I think they're a little better. Having Dame healthy is a big help. Anthony Simons played really well last year. You have Jeremy Grant's a good scorer. Nurkic, when healthy, is a great scorer. But again, they don't have the greatest depth. Gary Payton, the second you bring in, great defender, just like his father was. Not going to do much on the offensive end. Shaden Sharp is a guy with potential, but he's very raw. They don't have a lot of depth. Nurkic can't stay healthy. I'm far from sold on Chauncey Billups on the head coach. He had a lot of injuries last year, so give him a pass, but I think they're a little better. And Damian Lillard, who I think is a great player, you can't go out and say, you need to start putting some more talent around me. Your dude has never even been to the finals. You've only been to the conference finals once or twice. Say you need to put more talent around me and go out and sign an extension for $60 million a year. It's kind of a knock I have on Dame. The last playing spot, I'm going with the Sacramento Kings. They're a garbage franchise. They'll make the play-ins, but nothing more. De'Aaron Fox, when healthy, is a really good player. I like Davion Mitchell. Great 3-and-D guy who I think will be very special. I love Keegan Murray, who draft. Sabonis is a great player, but still, that was a terrible trade. They don't have any depth, really. I like them bringing in Malik Monk. Had a good year when the balloon breaks about the Lakers last year. Rashawn Holmes is a good rebounder, a good shot blocker. Kevin Huerter can shoot, though. That was a good trade they made. Harrison Barnes was pretty good, so I think they're good enough to make the play-ins, but I'm not even sure they're going to come out of it. Rounding up the Western Conference. Okay, the Lakers are not good. They're not making the play-ins. Stop. That's out of the way. LeBron's a great player. The dude's 38. AD, I don't trust him to stay healthy. Russell Westbrook is washed. Beverly is a great defender. He's funny, but he's not giving you anything on the offensive end. Thomas Bryant's, I think he's a decent second option at center, but not really a star. And their bench is horrible. I like Austin Reeves as a 3-and-D guy. But Lonnie Walker, he's very inconsistent. Kendrick Nunn, nothing special. He's an okay rotational piece. JTA is nothing special. He's a good defender. Not going to help you offensively. When winning Gabriel is nothing special. Damian Jones is nothing special. I don't think Darvin Ham is a good fit for the team to be a coach. They need an experienced coach who can handle LeBron, handle ID, and just be like, hey, I'm the coach, not you. Darvin Ham is not that guy as a rookie. That experiment's not going to work. Dennis Schroeder's out the first month, so that thins out their depth even more. He's not that good anyway. Lakers suck. That's out of the way. Got the Houston Rockets. They're just not there yet. I love Jabari Smith, who they draft. I think he's very talented. I really like Jalen Green. You got some youngers I like. Kevin Porter Jr. is given an extension. Deshaun Tate, I think, is pretty good. They draft Ty Washington. We'll see what he can give them. You got a lot of young players there. Josh Christopher, Kenny Martin Jr. Karis Mack is a pretty good shooter you have. But they're just not there yet. Utah Jazz also do a big rebuild. They still have some guys there. Mike Conley is a pretty good. He's a good scoring point guard. I love Colin Sexton. If he's healthy, I think can be a great player. Marklin's a good player. I like them picking up Walker Kessler in the Gobert trade. Young big man from Auburn, who I like coming out of Auburn. Clarkson's a guy who's a 6th man of the year guy, great bench scorer. I like Abahi, the guy you get from Cleveland for Donovan Mitchell. Malik Beasley, another guy you got for Gobert. Really good young player. Really like him. But a lot of these guys are going to be traded. Jordan Clarkson, I think he might get traded. I think Mike Conley gets traded. They might even try to flip Rudy Gay. So I think a bunch of these guys are getting traded. So the team that you have now, which you think, they might be able to compete for a play-in spot, actually. Maybe the 9 or 10 spot just won't be the same team you see come a trade deadline. And then at that point, they'll really have nothing to work with. Then you got the Spurs. Okay, the Spurs team is just... They're definitely going to a rebuild. They got a lot of young players. Blake Wesley, Kelvin Johnson, Jakob Poeltl, Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sochan. They got a lot of unproven guys. There's very few proven guys on that team. And the ones that are the most proven guy on that team might be probably Jakob Poeltl and Doug McDermott, who are not world beaters and they might get traded. And then Oklahoma State, without Chet, they just don't have much to work with. They're very young. They'll be good in a couple of years. I love Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, great point guard. I love Josh Giddey, having him healthy. Luguentz Dort's a good shooter. I like Pokusevski. But just not having Chet's a big loss. I think if they had Chet, they would have a shot at competing for a playing spot. Without him, it just isn't there. before I go, I'm going to do my awards picks and my NBA Finals prediction. My award picks for MVP, I'm going to go John Morant. I think just the dude's an absolute superstar. Defensive Player of the Year. For that, I'm going to say Bam Adebayo for the Miami Heat. I think he's a great defender. I'll go Bam Adebayo. Coach of the Year. Coach of the Year is a little tough. I'm actually, you know what? I'll kind of go against what I said in my predictions. I'll say Chris Finch in Minnesota. I said the team will end up proving me wrong and they're surprising people. And Chris Finch wins Coach of the Year. I'll say that. My final prediction, I think it's going to be the Milwaukee Bucks coming out of the East against the Memphis Grizzlies coming out of the West. And I'll take Milwaukee. So Bucks, Grizzlies, Bucks win. You heard it here first. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, so long and have a great day.